We got Purple Politics today. We got CJ Hammond in the place. He's a new friend in Los Angeles. I think we've known each other for about a year now.
Yeah.
We've been working with this organization called Engage the Vision, and we're going to be discussing that today. You have a kind of a fresh new musical career that's been starting to flourish within the last year. It's been awesome to see. You're like the first friend that I've seen like talk about something that, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and like boom, next level, you're in like full production and it looks clean, it looks packaged, ready to go. So you're that first person in LA that I've seen go from like in 1 year go from, hey, this sounds cool to me, to like, whoa, this guy's got a chance for a lot of people to hear his voice.
Yeah, man, I appreciate. Thank you, and thank you for having me on. Music specifically is a funny one because it's been brewing for a long time. In terms of, it was like a pot that was just ready to move, but I just aligned with the right things, and I was lucky enough to meet this guy Mark Rodriguez, who had already had he's been in the music business for years, but I linked with him for an audition for something else, and the rest was kind of history, and was able to accelerate at a quick pace because of his production and his knowledge and his bass, and added on another writing partner, my dude Arif Alahi, and then this other guy Stephen Felix. He's like the master of all masters of engineering, but mastering, and he's been on the team. So I had this like nucleus already formed around me that allowed me to kind of skip some steps that some artists have to go through, and I'm grateful for it. So I appreciate you saying that, man.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, and it looks, you've been dropping new music like frequently. You got a new song coming out in just 2 days.
2 days, I got a new song coming out. It's called "Ya." If you guys check that out, it's much more of definitely a beach vibe for my Cali people if you're listening in California. But I mean, it's consistency in releasing the music, especially at a time like right now. Being a new artist, you just have to hope that with each song you can gain some new fans, and that people are feeling what you're doing. And but so far, it's we're right at less than a year, just underneath a year, and the traction, albeit sometimes it feels slow, but then there's times you got to realize, and now you look at Spotify and it's like you got 3,000 monthly listeners. That's a cool thing to think, but it's you got to grow. So we continue to work at it, bro.
Yeah, what is it like making music right now? Because I see you as a person where like you have a lot of humility. You're cautious, but you're also bold. And then you're real, but you're also optimistic at the same time. And so like how do you balance that creative energy of like, hey, like I want to put out a beach vibe, and then I know that you care so much about some of the injustices going on in the world. Like where how do you break some of that tension, or where is your mind right now as a creator and what you're putting out?
I appreciate you acknowledging that. One of the things I think when I first, I mean, I have been one of those people like ever since. I had some wonderful history teachers that allowed me to learn history in a way that was real. And my mother and my father always taught me about Black history and what it meant. And in making the music and everything, and I had already been in Engage the Vision, I already had my purpose and my passion. So aligning the two made sense to me. Like everything I've done since then, like with I made the music video for Throne. It was about a child that came from a tough upbringing and made it. That's actually kind of loosely based on one of my bass player, Carl McDowell. He was in the show Ballers, but like it's loosely based on him. And the music video I'm Lost deals with struggle and stuff, because I think that life is happy, man. Life, there's a lot to be happy about, but there's certain times when you have to take stock of and assess what exactly it is that you're grateful for. Why should I be so appreciative of what just seems so mundane? Because there's people that my mundane is their absolute best. Like they could only wish to be like this. And so to be this lucky, I think, to keep that happy medium, and my parents have always helped to keep me grounded, and my sister, and my close people that are close to me. So it's been, with social media and music at the same time, it makes me happy because they're two passions I have. But I can never, there were times when I was like in modeling and acting where I kind of backed off because I didn't want to be too like, oh, he's always talking about an issue. But like something became so apparent to me that I don't care what you think if ultimately I'm speaking on equality. I just don't. I'm very rational. I can reason with you in ways that maybe you know, I don't need everybody. I don't need you to like be in any restaurant singing Black Lives Matter like to any at any point. Like I'm not going to force you to say things like that, but I need to be heard and we need to be acknowledged as a people. But as for me, it's also about what I've always been about. It's about loving everybody. If we can, everybody can be equal. There's a loving thing. I'm one of those guys that say much love. I tell people I love them, you know, like all the time. And that's kind of my platform. And so with my music, that's my message. And with whether it be in heartbreak in a song, though, sometimes it's about that, but it's like love and life, you know, those are two things that really mean a lot to me. And that's where my social media usually goes. And it's very rarely now do I kind of, I don't want to say waste a post, but it's like there's two things that are very apparent in this country right now. There's a racial reckoning and also just how we are going to operate as a society. And I think it's very apparent. Like for me, it's not about going out to a club or showing off my new shoes or my new J's. I just don't care. I don't. That's not where my life is. It's something much more foundational that's going to be lasting. And I want the kids that we work with on a regular basis to feel that kind of love. And so I hope if like they go to my page, they can find an aspirational person to where they don't necessarily have to be talking about the things that maybe they do experience, some of the things maybe their rappers or their favorite singers are singing about, or maybe they don't want to always hear about the nastiest of the nastiest deeds done on a Friday night. You know, maybe they
Yeah.
just want to hear about good times, and maybe there's a little, little drop in there, something, but I try to keep it on the up and up. So like that I can bring everybody together. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how music carries us out of this kind of depression that the entire country is going through. And I don't I think it's okay that our country is in this space of um uh ultra consciousness, introspection, a little bit of finger pointing. You know, I think that's important as long as we're pointing some fingers at ourselves at the same time. At least for, you know, myself, I need that. I need to look inside a little bit. But I've yet to see too many artists who have big platforms yet really give us that like revolution song. I saw like Beyonce did that a little bit with her last video album that she just dropped. Uh,
Mm.
but you know, like in the 60s, like early 70s, music like carried us in that generation. There's an undertone from like Creedence Clearwater Revival with like Fortunate Son. You know, that's like the biggest protest song of all time, but then also it's looked at as one of the most patriotic songs too. So it's this like interesting dialogue that we are having in the US. And I'm interested to watch creatives like yourself who are dealing with the same emotions that everybody else, but actually have a vehicle to, you know, to take it to a place that can connect all of us.
I mean, it's funny because there for me, there's people like Sam Cooke. You know, you look at a lot of the '60s, the music that came out of the '60s was that revolutionary type, you know, Gil Scott Heron type stuff. And even for me to explore that is when we were going through everything and to watch how they formed their message. There have been a few artists during this time that I actually like have taken stock of, like what's like Toby Nwoke, I think is his name.
Yo, that guy's
That
so good.
that is, I really, really, really appreciate not only the artistry of it, but like the actual like what's actually coming out of the mouth, and but doing it to where you're almost tripping up people's brains to go, yo, but this is like socially conscious again, but it's so fire. Like, why am
Right.
I, you know? And it's sad that to me, I think there's a lot of stuff like where I'm kind of oversaturated with not mumble rap necessarily, but just the influence of the lean culture and stuff like that, where we're really not pushing the message forward, and it's more zun, 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 zun. I love melodies. I love saying things. I love messages. So for me as an artist, I mean, a lot of stuff like there's a song coming out I got, you know, called Home. To me, the message is so much deeper. Like it's about like, and it's in the melodies, and it's the way you sing things and sing them out and how you emote them. And I hope a lot of artists pick that up during this time, that like probably for most of us are we're shooting stars in the frame of music, but understanding that possibly maybe your star, you know, can go on for a little bit longer should you have a message, should you have something behind that people can attach themselves to other than just a beat. And for me, I always think if people actually listen to the words in my music, albeit maybe sometimes they seem simplistic, but the message behind it, I hope, is what lives like on. I hope that's the timeless stuff. So I hope a lot of artists are more so focused with creating timeless music as opposed to just creating music just to, I don't know, have music out there and try to maybe collect royalties on it.
Sure. And I just I have a little empathy for the artists in the space of going, okay, I you have to hold down what's happening right now, but then you hopefully have the energy or the ability, what you're saying, to kind of to look past the moment and say, like, what's going to draw us from it, what's going to be that song, that tune, that remembrance, but also takes you to a space that, like, we're gonna live through this moment, we're gonna get past it whether we like it or not, and we can deal with how we can put in place right now the way that our children are going to look at us and how we walk through it. You know, did we walk through our head down or our head up? What conversations were we having? Like, this is what it's all about.
You know, this is the first, like, I have had like actual conversations with my mom about, you know, what this country looks like if it doesn't go the way that I would prefer it, being that Donald Trump doesn't get elected. So by chance, maybe he does get another term by through, if it's fair or not, whatever. I'm not gonna, you know, but it's a huge concern to me because I do think that for me, maybe people think this is different, but if you were just to take stock of what's going on in the world and where we are as a nation, um, I'm very curious. We are at a true crossroads. I know that any election you could say that we're at the crossroads. They always would frame it as such. But I'm nervous if he gets elected again that I don't know what this country will do or look like. As
Yeah.
opposed to there are people on the other side that are saying that have the same fear, but just on the opposite side of the fence. But I
Yeah.
keep trying to reassure them that, like, my fear is for my actual, the safety of me and people that look like me and where we belong in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas to I feel like the other need is a fear of me becoming equal or be like those things that bring equality to us.
Sure.
So that's where I always lie, but I really truly worry when you talk about where we look like, you know, where we go from here. November to me would be a great indication of where we go, because until then, that's why I can't sleep at night. That's why I have a lot of stress. That's why I have anxiety,
Yeah.
because every day I really worry about what is this man going to do at the top? How is he going to change my life? What policies is he enacting that are hurting people, just people?
Yep.
Um, so yeah, man, I until November, I really, even musically, I would know that it would be a very big revolt in terms of, I think you would hear some music that was very more like Rage Against the Machine-esque in
Mm-hmm.
terms of just give me my rights. But until then, we'll see.
Yeah. You know, it is an interesting time. From like you, so you have good conversations with your mom about politics, it sounds like.
Yeah.
What is her view on, does this election seem more sensitive than all previous elections as well? Or is she like, hey, son, like, this is America. These are the things that we go through.
I would. My mom is very. Just so like a little background on her. She's my mother. My mother's white. My father's black. She worked at Denver Health Medical Center for 40 years. I think it was a largely Hispanic population, but a
Okay.
mix of everybody. Um, and she said when she first started working there, like working there helped her to understand other people's needs, other minorities that she was not maybe thinking about, right? So all this has given us to now, like, she, you know, she has a really good grasp. She's very, she's the kindest lady. She has a great heart, but she's sensible. She's very sensible, I will tell you that. um I would, from our conversations, it seems to be that we're both perplexed. It's that we haven't seen this before, where
Okay.
there's something that seems so apparent, even since the election. You would think that we gave him his chance, but there's something so, you worry about America because there's something so apparent. There's such a red flag that's waving, and people continue to say, eh, that's not, like that's not a problem, you know. And we're kind of perplexed, but she's also stated that she's never seen like where Black Lives Matter is everywhere. You know, things that like are stances where companies are needing to take stances, whether we're holding them accountable or not. Now we need to be seen, but she's never seen it quite like this. So to me, that makes me feel good because I know at least if corporate companies are really taking stock and realizing that their companies must take, you know, like be representative of a whole and be taking stock in that, I would feel comfortable. But so that's a change she's seen. But other than that, we're kind of both just perplexed
Sure.
still.
Yeah, and I would be similar in the perplexed state because I am a person like purple politics to me is I don't see anybody that represents my voice appropriately on any side. I'm a
Mhm.
person who's a little bit more conservative, but I have a huge problem with Donald Trump. And I have more of a problem with Donald Trump than I do with Joe Biden because he gets in the way of what I think the values of what being conservative is. Basically, I think that we should be able to locally run our government more than having a bunch of federal oversight. And so on a local level, I actually get a lot more liberal in the sense that I think that we need really good social programs. We need to worry about our homelessness. We need to worry about the education in areas within Black and brown communities that have been overlooked for a long time. These are all spaces that I'm like, we need to consciously do that. I just, in a weird way, I've kind of lost so much faith in the government actually doing that that I'm like, hey, we just got to get back to the reality that like small communities are the only way that we go anywhere. But that's why I'm having this dialogue. This is kind of a process of me coping with like being like, I don't see my I don't see place on
Well, and I
either
think
side
that
right now.
like the thing that it's the thing that's curious to me is now what it means. Like, so I would ask you then what it means like to in today's current climate, what does it mean to be conservative these days to you?
Like a
To you?
Trump voter
No,
or
no,
like
no, to you, because that's where I because to the average Trump voter, that's where it's hard to
I
distinguish.
don't think Trump voters are that conservative.
Right, and so this is where it leaves conservatives out on a ledge because they're like I say true conservatives, where
Yeah.
they're out on a ledge because you're like you push me away because I can't go with hate, but I don't want to go with policy, right? And so and that's where I for me, like I said, that's why the vote is easy because I just can't rock with hate. I
Sure.
can still hold my leaders accountable now. The second Joe Biden gets in there, if we're not like it's why you say locally. I'm always curious because we see a state like California where we all forget that how California was built. California still was built upon slave labor in terms of transit and just getting this thing up and running. We weren't paying fair wages for a long time. Now here we are in 2020, right? We saw a great boom, but there were huge people getting, you know, neighborhoods were shifted, Venice and everything didn't look the same, right?
Yeah.
People get moved around to get to but we don't talk about that. But then we go, California is a shithole. And the Democratic policies. I hear you because Democratic or Republican, there's bad people at the top. But what
Sure.
we
On either side.
keep failing to, yeah, on any side, but what we keep failing to remember is how it was built so that now we ask people to pay their fair dues. And when companies that say, like we say, we need to this is not, I'm talking about companies in the upper echelon that are making money up in like Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
right?
You're talking
Not
about
your mom and
Amazon.
pop shops. We ask them to pay their fair due, but they've made so much now and we need them so much that they play this game of no, we're going to leave if you don't come to our rules, and we'll still stay here. We're going to pay our taxes, but not proportionate to what we actually make. And they make it harder on us as the true middle class. Like the true middle class
Yeah.
now, we keep paying the price because they won't pay theirs. Why is Apple a $2 trillion company? Yet we have these companies that could literally help all of us out, even as, and the problem is I feel like any conservative could agree with that if they understood what I was saying, as opposed to
I
saying,
well
why
I
do you want to tax businesses? Why do you want, because I'm not talking about your business. I'm talking about the upper echelon business that you could
right.
benefit from.
So I 100% agree with you. I think the biggest freeloader in the world right now is Amazon because they're paying zero taxes. And I always want our government to be the best referee in the game to go up against a group like that and make them pay what we would all call their fair share. The problem with our current tax system to me, and why you'd see me more see, but I also like, I'm not a Trump type of tax guy, where I'm a little bit more of a flat tax person, in the sense that I think our tax system has gotten so crazy and out of bounds. To figure out what it looks like to be like, what taxes are and how to be able to even pay them appropriately as a business, you
Well, I
have
was
to
going to say, the business is the problem. Businesses have to go through so many things, like they have to go through so many hoops. And the problem is that much of this was kind of put into place to really help. But then people that realized systems and how to work things and put in little other things that started manipulating what I believe to be a good thing. Now you're where you're at. And like I said, that was not about Republican or Democrat. Like, I just got an email about they were trying to they were had some movement for the housing, and now they're trying to turn it into some hotel off for like Wilshire and La Cienega or something like that.
oh
It was money that
no.
was devoted to how like help housing. I'm sure, like I said, if it's a Democratic led thing, that was on them. But like, I don't know how these funds are moving in transparency. There's a lot of things that we're talking about where it doesn't really boil down for me and you to blue and red. It boils down to policy and corruption. And so it's not about, like, for me, that's why this election isn't about, it's nothing more than I can't rock with hate or what feels like division.
And so for me, so I 100% agree with you with that. So I'm like, look, the government, like, so for example, when Trump was like, I'm going to give the next $2 trillion or whatever it was for the PPE, and they were debating whether or not it was going to be $200 extra for unemployment or $600, right? And we ended up settling upon 400. Trump had baked in airplanes that we were going to be buying for the Air Force. Why on earth is any of that bullshit even exist? We should be talking about only one thing, which is, are we going to give people 600 or 200? And that's it. And I'm fine with that debate. But like, when all of these different things happen, when it's like, when a huge bill gets passed, it takes like 10 years for us all to realize, like, oh wait, that got passed with that big thing too.
You know,
Why?
but the problem is all the stuff that you're allowed to shove into a bill that doesn't get talked about, and we need to go line by line. But they make these big packages. They make these package deals where, like, like I said, there's even stuff that, like I've said in the last one that went through, that the Dems did, where I was like, well, okay, but if we want to go with that, like, I'm not as far removed to question things, right? But I just, like, it bothers me when what you just said about the 2 trillion, when I know that just in military expenses alone, when I last checked, we spent about 300 billion, or was it 300 million or billion more than, which is, I know, conflating numbers, but it was
But
either
we don't.
million or
That's the
billion.
thing. We're talking about numbers that, like, they're unable to
They're
fathom. There was
astronomical, but we
300
spent
million or a trillion. I don't know
we
the
are almost
difference.
2 times, if not 2 times and a half more than the next country we spend on our military. And that's China, right? But the problem is we keep thinking it's about military might when it's so far gone that it's not about power anymore, because anybody could wipe each other off the face of the map at any point, right?
Sure.
So it doesn't matter. So it's about economic power. But what everybody fails to realize, and we keep thinking that we're the America of like the where the prominence, and we lost that. No more was it apparent to where how we failed in COVID, and we were like people were feeling sorry for us, right? Other countries are feeling sorry for us. So America has lost its foothold just in standing, but we keep thinking it's about military might and things that don't, when we need to worry about our infrastructure and building up our society now. And now we keep thinking it's about foreign threats. It's not. Our threat is from within. We're going to fold from within before we ever have a migrant come over that comes and crushes us. It's not about illegal immigration or anything. It's about what we're doing here to our own people that are living in our own cities.
Right. Well, America is really, like, right now, we do have greatness in us, and I do still think we're the greatest country on earth. However, I think that we're like that drunk high school quarterback 5 years after their greatness. We're
Yeah.
fat, we're at the bar, we're hanging out, we're talking shit, we're talking about the past, and everybody just needs us to get off of our darn ass again and start being the person that the whole community knows we can be. Because, like, this is still the space on earth that people are clawing to get into. Like, you see people from Honduras and Guatemala literally putting their lives on the line, their children's life on the line to get here. And then they get here and we're just like, yo, man, like, I don't know, like, you're going to be treated like a second-class citizen. That's absolute bullshit. And
I mean, you put it really well because it really is. We really do live on our glory years, like that. I mean, but we forget about what got us there. It was the military might, but then we kept getting into little wars that really had no service to us other than to continue to push contracts and to get land. But like, we don't have any business in some of these places. I mean, I don't know, bro. I get really frustrated with all of this because I realize the gross incompetence, and it's not just by one party, it's by everybody. But I'm forced to kind of like you pick a side, not pick a side, but I guess pick a side in this election, and that being Joe Biden. But I sure hope that with the way society is moving right now, like you said, this push, that the things we've never seen before, should he get elected, that we would hold him accountable to be, I don't know, fiscally responsible, but also take care of our people, because I get I get flack for talking about socialism as if I'm talking about communism. And when I talk about socialism, I'm talking about social structures that already exist. We already give, it's a socialistic thing to give a bailout to a corporate company, but we never talk about that. That's corporate socialism. Anytime they need help, we bail them out. Our people need help. We need to give them help. What is the stimulus check? That is a form of socialism that everybody agreed upon because it was that bad. But we just need to, now that we understand this, that this is possible, let the companies at the top, to go back to, I guess, our original thing, let the companies at the top help to take care of the people that they're trying to take advantage of.
Right. And if that's we do actually have some of the most philanthropic billionaires that we've ever seen in our lifetime, that are in the world of like existence on Earth. I do think that there's more empathy around at the top than we've ever seen before, but it's still not hitting appropriately, because Jeff Bezos gave $100 million to some foundation a day, like 6 months ago. That same day, he made $250 million. So it's like, front page of the paper, oh my gosh, Jeff Bezos is finally breaking into his wallet. It's like, yo, we're forgetting how much money this guy's really making.
And that's where it's a trick to me. It's a trick to understand, like he keeps going like throw that out there real quick.
Right.
I just already netted plus 150 for the day after giving away 100 million, where to me, like I said, and it's not about throwing money towards a cause. So if I was to say, could you please help us figure out how to take care of the homeless problem in LA, it would have to be more foundational than he provided $100 million for housing. It would be for programs to help that, such as like, addiction specialists, mental health, and housing, or affordable housing that allows you to get on your feet and get a job. Because I mean, even if you wanted a job to go work for $7.25, now, I mean, I don't know, is minimum wage now 15 here? Are we officially
like that?
Like, I still don't think that's a living wage in California. We both know $15 an hour is not livable wage.
That's what I almost, some of the problem that I have with minimum wage every once in a while is like, yeah, like, so a federal minimum wage to me doesn't make sense, because if you're a company right now in Los Angeles and you're not paying your person, I don't care what they're doing, more than $22 an hour, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
You just are, because that person can't do anything.
But once again, it's these companies where I have to take stock of, well, they aren't like a big fish. I mean, like, they're a middle tier guy, so I feel some stuff from when their payroll tax, like it comes down on them.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking in my head, if we could just get the top to put in their fair share. Like, and I said, when I say fair share, that means, what if it was something that's been floated? It's anything taxed over a certain amount that gets, instead of like being at that, it goes to like a 50% or something like that. I'm open to solutions. I don't have the answers, and I shouldn't have to have the answers, right? Because I'm not an economist. I'm just saying,
the problem is, though, now we actually have to start finding the answers, because we are the 30-year-old guys now.
Yeah, and we're talking about it constantly because it really is a pain in our butts. I used to be like always those guys that would be talking like corporate, and here I am, bro.
Well, it's like, we're always like, what are the adults doing? And now it's like, I'm 33 years old. Like, I'm one of the adults. And, I have a 65-year-old father who's like, it's time for you to step up. Like, I've carried this for a while. Like, it's time to get the young guns going. And 33's not even that young, but it feels young to be a part of the social structure of the conversation and the fabric. That
well, and I mean, but plus, it's the way that the social structure is set up between back then and now. I think it was much more familial to where very much entrepreneurial type movement within many people in our age. They our parents, you know, job, they weren't podcasting, they weren't singing, going to try to go, you know, I mean, some of them would go to LA to do that stuff, but they, you know, they weren't as freelanced in their lifestyles as many of us are now, and at least in my opinion. I know the 9 to 5 was, as soon as I got into it, I realized really quickly, I was like, holy crap, I can't go with this. But now, you know, me and you do have an opportunity to have, everybody has the chance to have a voice. It's just who your audience is and who you capture. So
Right.
I mean, to be at this point now, it sucks because we're talking about the same exact things our parents did, maybe in small different variations, but they are the same exact things. And that means that we've had no change and that history repeats itself. So when do we say no more? But once
Yeah.
again, I think that the thing that we continue to be afraid of is that you think when people suggest social structures that take care of our bottom, it will indeed make us stronger. But if we just simply let the top half pay their fair share, everybody would be better off. The middle class would be stronger because we're not having to take care of them, because the top half is not.
Right.
Top half is not taking care of that. We're the people that are paying the buck. Why am I, like, we're just struggling to get by each month, right? Just struggling to get by each month, allowing dudes to make in the profit greens by exorbitant amounts. I don't need to be paying that tax. I don't need to be paying what I'm paying to live here right now. But because they've set it up like this, we pay the brunt of of all these decisions
Right.
they've made.
That's why I really. That's why if I had the ability to lead this place, I would go. Look, businesses have to pay like between like 15 and 20%, and then people have to pay between probably 20 and like 23% or something like that. This is throwing ballpark numbers, and
Mhm.
there's no way around it. The only people that would get a break are individuals who are making like under 40 grand a year, and you know, whoever's below that minimum gap.
Would it be but like, I mean, because
And
poverty
then
line
there's
is
no
different.
way out because like too many billionaires know how to skate around it. If you have a $30 million tax in your face, you're gonna pay an attorney $1 million to make sure you don't have to pay it.
Right.
You're gonna go like, yo, bro, just I'm gonna throw you this million. Make sure that you don't make me pay
So,
30.
so I mean, but essentially, what we possibly might be discussing is that, like I said, though, it's funny that you and I want these things, but we realize that really that's why my the election choice is really built upon more hate, because no matter who's next elected, being that either it's going to get worse, in my opinion, or that even if you try to make decisions, there all the little loopholes and laws, unless we really start cracking down on those, which people try to do, but no one realizes how important it is. What these little C-SPAN things that go on, they matter. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that, and maybe you didn't, but they matter because all these little rinky-dink things they try to throw in there, and they try to move us over, and I'm like, I'm not caring about that. Or they try to warn me, but it's like, in this day and age, we just trust people to, it's like that, like, take care of it for me. Like, like Biden. Well, I didn't really read into that. I know you got some flaws, but take care of that for me. Can he really do it? Right?
It's
And for me,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, no, it is funny though when you start to realize where the juice is, like in real society. You know, where you're like, oh, this little bullshit thing that you used to 5 years ago look at C-SPAN and go, that's boring. You're going, whoa, this is vital. You know, this is where actually it's all happening. This is the biggest playing field in the world. There's more stakes with this little banter back and forth with only 30 people in the audience than watching a football game with 75,000 people in the audience. Like,
I mean,
this is the thing that actually matters. And it sometimes feels like the birdies over here telling us all to care about this when it's like, yo, this is what matters over here.
but that's where, like, social media drives me crazy because um people, it is an outlet, it is an escape, but it also is a platform to instantaneously exchange information and news. And you try to do those things, and those are the things that are quickly brushed over. Like, numbers and facts and figures are not sexy things. Pictures and videos of whether it be police brutality and stuff, show me the facts and figures so these people can not just see a video and then put it into the context of their brain. Give me the numbers of how many people have been killed, in what ways, in what manners. Show me the poverty lines here. Why does Baltimore look like it does? Why do we keep using Detroit and Chicago as scapegoats for black people when it's not that, it's that they have never had a chance there because of the policies. I don't care who's running it. It was built from crap. Like the auto industry there like was a big thing. I mean, it's still Detroit's barely hanging on, but we
Hmm.
always use these places as like the democratic policies aren't working. They're not working everywhere. In Arkansas, it's a poor place. In Mississippi, poor place. Louisiana, poor place. These are not. No one's really doing well right now. No one's doing super duper.
No.
So but we always act like it's, oh, California and the Dems or this or that. Like nowhere's really doing awesome. Yeah, maybe the stock market's doing great, but I don't know many people that like cheer that on unless they have their money in the stocks, and not many people have enough money to play around the stocks that live in those neighborhoods. So why would they care? That doesn't benefit them. That
Right.
doesn't do anything for their living wage every day, because the companies are only going to take in more money. They don't recoup that money and then say, hey, we're going to give you more, we're going to pay you more in your paycheck. They don't do that. They say, hey, thanks for the profits, we're going to keep paying you the same. Maybe we'll give you $1 raise next year. That's
Hmm.
crazy, bro.
Yeah, it's scary. It's a human condition to only look up the ladder and not look down. Even us, right? Like we are actually a given so much, right? Like we're sitting here in LA, we have the opportunity of careers in front of us. We're still young, we're still healthy. We're starting to figure out where our mind's at and how we can be a part of the future. That's blessed. Um, and it's hard to sometimes realize where we even have space to give back to others, even though we are putting that into our lives all the time to say, like, hey, I'm taking out this afternoon because I have time and space to give back to others. I see that in you as a friend, and that's why I like being your buddy. But that's still even difficult every once in a while.
Mm.
And it's scary to know that we're building that in right now when we're broke. So thank God for that. Because when you have $100 million someday, for some reason, if you haven't built that in already, you're only looking up the ladder and you're going, yeah, but I have 100 million and Jeff Bezos has 100 billion, and
Well,
this weird human condition always has us looking up and not back.
but that's where like social media and stuff, to me, like that's why I don't give a crap how many freaking followers I have anymore. Like I know that my team would hate me saying that, like with how many followers and how many listeners. I don't give a crap. I'm gonna say what I want. And because it's like I have such a structure or foundation. It doesn't matter if I have $10 to my name or $100 million to my name. I still understand empathy and humans and the human plight. I will never forget that. And to anybody that would think that money is going to somehow satisfy those empty, hollow needs, and you can get them through any fix, sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it is, you think that's going to cure that, where as opposed to my fellow man next to me, like my time is always going to go back invested into that, because that is the $100 million going into your heart. Like your heart's getting them, like that's where the gold is, right? And
Yeah.
it's just like I just hate seeing, like I can't stand like the new watch alert, like new shoes alert. Like I just, to me, I just wonder, because I would, and I don't want you to film yourself giving a sandwich to a homeless guy or something either. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that like there's bigger fish, I guess. And I if anything, I guess I'd rather see that, because at least I knew you were doing good and it went to somebody.
Yeah.
But everybody's allowed to do their own thing, and I'm not railing on that. It just seems that we are all really looking out for ourselves this day, and deservedly so, in a really crazy time, in a really awkward time. So it doesn't matter if I have a wonderful family. I can't tell me how many times I've gone crazy during this pandemic, being like, what am I doing? What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, and I consider myself to have a rock solid foundation of a family, and I still feel like that. So if you didn't, and all you had was to buy things and to make yourself feel better during this time, if it helped you, great. But I think that a lot of times you're going to find yourself a lot more hollow then, because you realize you got nothing to show for it.
Right.
And here we are, like me and you. I would rather invest my time to build something or build somebody else up. I feel like that's a much more beneficial use of my time. So that's kind of how I use the time, with like kind of like you. We go out on a Saturday. I could stay in and sleep in and eat some pancakes, but I'd rather go have better use of my time.
And isn't that, I think it's so important right now. And, it's definitely something that I've learned throughout my life, that I obviously could feel really hopeless right now, but I don't, because I know that I've seen hope work. And sometimes you can't save the whole world, but you can just walk across the street or go help out an organization, or, find a few friends to go with you. And once you start serving someone and start serving a community and have that one face in front of you that, like, you give them a backpack and it brightens their day. You know that there's actually hope in the world. And that's sometimes the best we can do. And that's sometimes the only thing that I think literally what we're supposed to do on earth is, which is like just start one person at a time and just keep checking those boxes off with it. Just like get someone smiling, learn about someone's story, give someone that extra dollar in your bank account to
Bro, I mean, it's all your like everything that you like. It's the like it really like I'm a big person of micro macro, and I always say the micro influences the macro. Like it is going to be those small community changes that ultimately get up and bring those things. I mean, Black Lives Matter was indeed a small thing that no one ever really thought would take off, but indeed it has. It was a micro that went to macro. Now for me, it's more of a movement of civil rights as opposed to the actual organization for me, but it's the same. But you know, for me, I guess it's a great way because I think about when I came out here, I've always had this thing in my heart, like, you know, like in terms of like in high school, I worked with the kids that had special needs I was a basketball coach and did that. And then college, I did a few things here and there, but I wasn't, you know, too active. I went and spoke.
Where did you go to college?
Started at, what a road. Went to Grossmont Junior College. I ended up coming back like a half a semester then went to Northern Colorado and finished at Colorado State. So I could have just said that, but I went to a few. But I've always tried to give back my time. But when I came out here, it just goes to show to your story of something that can grow. I knew it was 6 years ago. I knew that it was the holidays, and I was like, I just want to give back. I really didn't know. I just said, and I was working at a gym. Mm-hmm. And so I told all the members of my gym, I started asking around. I said, hey, does anybody know anybody that could use anything? And I got directed towards a lady at a food bank up in Van Nuys, and she then put me in touch with this lady. And this lady worked for the Marine Adult Therapeutic Center.
Okay.
She's 90 years old. Doris is her name, and she worked at the Marine Adult Therapeutic Center. I think the first year I was able to, from my members of my place, I think we got them like 25 turkeys or something like that.
Wow, sweet.
Next year, like it grew a little bit. Next year, like so, year 6 last year, we fed 100 families, and that was literally like I'm not with a nonprofit or anything, so I literally just collect the money from my Venmo and then give it to them, you know. So it's not like, but like. You know, and this year we're trying to work it in conjunction with ETV, but it just shows you it takes like, even if it's by yourself, I'm hoping that this year now, if I'm able to like link up with ETV or some other organization that would allow me to, maybe it's 200 families. And I know it's not 100 million families, but it's 200 families that didn't get it before. And I don't know how to stress to people other than just like, it doesn't matter if you think it's small, it might be something way different it might be the biggest thing of someone else's day. And everything that we're doing right now, albeit small, a lot of small, like people doing a lot of small things all at the same time can move some mountains. And I just wish people realize that. And I think protesting and things really did show people like we can do this. You know, we can be heard and peacefully, because I know that when I went, it was peaceful. You know, people can take causes and they can ruin them, but what we have is a good thing. And so I know that the micro really can influence the macro. And I think that's what guys like me and you are doing, and many ladies out there. And like, I think that's what we're doing right now. Our message of equality is really getting through.
It's so important. And, you know, it's really interesting when you get out there, and sometimes even before you start serving, you think, wow, like, I bet there's not an organization that needs me. You know, I bet like if I walked into the door of this community center, all of the tasks would already be taken up. Like there needs to be a job interview and then they like grant me in, or, you know, I see this thing posted and it's Saturday and it's 11 o'clock and it starts at noon. I bet they need too much from me. I bet they're already done. I bet they're already prepared. They're not. They need you that day. Even if you arrive 2 hours late, 3 hours late, they need you. And it's so weird living in a city like LA where you see and hear so much empathy on the airways of Instagram. And you see a post go up and you're like, man, I bet 100 people are going to help that thing out. It's always 3 to 5.
Brother, I can't tell you. That's why promoting events and stuff. And I've got one coming up, Movement for Justice. This will kind of be the first little like soft floater about that. But I cannot tell you how many events and how many things, whether it was the flood in Houston, where we collected a donation drive for that. And this is not me saying, oh, I'm the great. I'm just saying that it takes a village. Like you have to get everybody, because everybody always thinks that it's going to be the person behind them that does it. And a lot of times it's not. It's like every fifth person. They're like, oh, they'll do it. No, they deflected back to them, and they deflect. They'll bring a turkey. Well, so here you are thinking you might, like, I have 3,000 people on Instagram that follow me, or some change.
Yeah.
Out of that 3,000, I probably would get 25 to actually get to donate to a cause or to move a mountain for me in terms of that. If 3,000 people gave $1 or $2, like a dollar, if each one of those 3,700 gave $1, I would have, my math is awful, but 8,000 or 7,400, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I would have that. If they gave $2, exponentially it would grow by that. But I'm just saying, if all I needed was that, but it doesn't happen like that, and deservedly so, because there's so many causes.
Sure.
So even if I netted half that, or even a third of that, it would be. But I just ask people to think, like, maybe it won't be the person behind me that makes that change. Maybe I should just go ahead and do it today. Like, maybe I should just take a leap, even if it feels weird. Like, you know, I'll give $1 today, or maybe I should go on help today. I haven't done that ever, but I'll just try it.
And that's one of those things where, like one of your followers, for example, they might be like, well, you know, I don't even know CJ. Like, CJ doesn't know me. Like, if I showed up, that would be weird. No, CJ will greet you with a smile. And I can tell you this with every single nonprofit, every single for-profit organization that's trying to do good. They will greet you with a smile. Like, trust that pinch in your heart and be like, all right, I'm going to go today. Just give it a try. And it will always reward you 1,000 times over.
I just, now that you say those things, I realize that with a lot of these organizations, you probably wouldn't walk into a more receiving room of love for people, any organization that you choose to, should it be one that's like that, because they understand everybody's there for a common purpose, right? And I know with Engage the Vision, when I walked in there, I was like daps and handshakes and hugs. And I'm like, I don't know none of y'all, like, just mad love around the room. And it made it so much easier to transition into a role and to be a leader in there, because that kind of love, and everybody has that ability to not only lead, like that's, I wish that everybody understood the ability to lead really is just that one switch, but just carry it with a lot of conviction, but yes, also then some education behind it and some fact. I think that's what allows me to go ahead forward. I might not know everything, and I can agree to that with anybody. Like, I'm willing to learn and listen.
Sure.
But I have a really good cause, and it makes it really easy for me to go 100 miles an hour at any point when someone's like, these kids need your help, CJ. I'm not just going to have a hashtag and I'm going to say, save the children, save our children. No, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to talk about real things. Like, I'm in these streets, like, really helping, where I'm not just going to be posting about it. I've been doing it for a long time, and anybody can check my track record. Like, I'm about the cause, I'm down for it. And if you haven't been, like, for a long time and you feel like it, I want people to take a cannonball into helping other people out. Like, I really want people to take that big leap. It's time. You and I both know it, just what you said. It's the 30-year-olds that think we can keep resting on the people, these poor kids behind us that need to have a voice, and the people ahead of us. And while we're still partying in our 30s, like we're gonna live till we're still in our 20s, like, step up. Like, we're not underneath our parents' roofs anymore. Like, step up and make a change in someone else's life. And not everybody has to post about it. I agree to that. Not everybody, but I can tell you what, it just seems as if we all did a little bit more, we might be a little bit further along. You know, we might get a little bit quicker. So I'm blessed to know guys like you, because, you know, we're out there sweating our butts off on a Saturday, and it felt good though, man. Like, but I might have got heat stroke, but it felt good.
But it heals your soul. I do it for myself too. I do it because I do it for my future, and I do it for what my body needs. Like, and giving back, it just, every single time that I follow that pinch in my heart.
Yeah.
It feels so good, man. It feels so good. So I just want more people to trust that intuition and that hunch in there. And then when you get there, realize, and this is for anyone in LA, nobody knows anybody. No, everybody is just got here. Even if you've been here for 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, we all just got here. Say hi and have confidence in saying, dude, I just got here. And you're going to find out everyone just got there.
You know,
and when a new guy shows up, be like, hey, how you doing? Welcome. And it's like, did you just welcome the guy 2 seconds after you got here? Like, you're the newbie. It's like, yep, but welcome.
Yeah, and he's
The next person
now
up.
yeah, and now he's the newbie because I won't be
Right.
because I'm built into it. And like, you know, organizations like ours give us that ability. It takes that comfort zone because it does feel like you can be a social justice warrior when you're on your keyboard because you are disseminating information. And for me, sometimes I get on the keyboard and I'll go attack somebody, but I need
Go
people
at it.
out there like that can that maybe hopefully they're being tactful in the ways that they're responding and having dialogue about things that matter. I think a lot of it gets twisted these days, but I hope there are people. I know that everybody has their role in this movement. We need to have lawyers that are behind the scenes doing their thing. We need to have people on the front lines giving back to the communities. We need to have people working hard so that they can earn the money to give back to the communities. Like, we need these things. It's just that I feel like everybody's kind of deer in headlights. Like, what do I do? Just do something positive for forward change. Like, just do that. That's all I would say to do. Whether it means that you signed 16 petitions today or one, it's better than zero. So you know, it's just going to be a matter of by the masses, like I said, but like the mini masses, like the micro little cells of like engage the vision and things like that. That I really feel like 20 years from now, you and I will be looking and going, I'm really proud of what we have to show for this because it's foundational and it's everlasting and it's not just for us.
Yeah, I feel like America's in this place right now where we're like at a 7th grade dance, and when George Floyd died, the music stopped. And everyone is sitting there going, holy shit, what the fuck just happened? And now the music is turned back on and everyone has to learn how to dance again. Not in the sense of like, not forgetting about where we were, but like how to move again, like how to be people again, and to just and to work with the causes that we know are intentions in our heart to move this thing forward. But we gotta get back in this groove to be like, all right, and we're gonna move different.
Bro, but that's the great thing about that analogy is that dance party was never equal. There were little separations and segregations and people.
But now everybody's going to be in the same spot.
Cool people dancing in this corner and the cool people dancing in this corner. And the crappy part is that when everybody left the dance floor, that I was waiting for some of my boys to get back on the dance floor with me and like be rocking again. And they were really quiet. And it hurt me because I was like, yo, where's my team at, right? And people stepping up on, you know, issues and stuff. So, but it provided me clarity when I saw who got back on the dance floor with me, and maybe they'll come back on the dance floor, you know, maybe they won't, but like to know that like this will be that Peanuts dance party, everybody's rocking, the line is doing his thing in the middle of the club, you know, like that's what I go for. Like I want equality. That's what we all want. You and I want the same thing. It's just in what way, but I think we both know that there's certain emotional intelligences that are going to be needed to move forward, and people are going to need to dig deeper into their emotions to figure out what's it going to take to get me back on that dance floor. What is it that's making me so hesitant to jump back up in next to my neighbor and dance with him again when he just was like he you know, let it be known that he wanted equality. Why did I take offense to that? Or, you know, certain things like why are we having conflicts when we have those conversations between boy to boy, you know, man to man, woman to woman, woman to man? When we have those conversations, mountains are going to be moved, but we're still kind of cautiously treading. And I've had some really cool people reach out to me that were uncomfortable with things that I was saying or doing. And we had conversations and we talked, and we're better for it, both of us, and we're moving forward. Are we perfect? No, but we're doing things that are laying the groundwork to be better. So I think I have more allies than I've ever had, at least.
And I would also just tell white people out there, like, just be comfortable, like just get back in, like just jump back in. Like, and yes, it feels like you're on eggshells right now. I get it. It feels like you're going to make the easy mistake. You're going to say something wrong. And you know what? You are going to say something wrong. But this is a place where there's more cushion than you think. Even if you're a white conservative, even if you're voting for Trump, there's still space for you in this conversation. Granted, you're going to have a lot to discuss if that's a decision that you're going to make. And it's going to be a really difficult conversation, but I still greet you to say, come in and watch you change. And don't be so scared to change, because you might get changed away from voting from that guy. It might happen. And, but people just got to get used to this conversation, because it is a new conversation, though, you know, and
it's a brand new conversation for a lot of people. One that, you know, I've had these for a while and I'm not afraid to, which it makes it, because I feel like I have knowledge and a base behind me of what I'm talking about. And I think a lot of people that are just discovering facts and figures for the first time, should they go to some sites that they want to find the information they're looking for, come to me about things and issues that, well, what about this? And I'm like, yo, check the sources again and check the facts, homie, you know? And it makes those conversations, I might seem like I'm a dick or like that I think I'm a know-it-all. I've been put in my place a few times, but like I kind of know what I'm talking about and I have a good understanding of how things work in history now, right? A lot of
Right.
people don't understand history. So for me, it's really easy to, if when people talking about capitalism, I'm like, bro, talk about the foundations of this country. Those are my ancestors you're talking about. Don't disrespect me by negating the fact that why we don't have generational wealth. Like there's a reason why some things are the way they are. And I think if people just really understand, bro, it's going to come to a place where we all really need to get the emotional intelligence to go, okay, I'm afraid. You're afraid. My fears are coming from what? For me, it would be my need to feel secure. What are my needs? I need to feel secure. They're probably the same as yours, but that's where our ships, they just go off in different directions on how we need to feel secure. I'm sure that if I talk to a Trump voter and stress that, and they weren't, in fact, this is just a bigoted or racist, if they were conservative in your views like me and you were talking about, that we could come to a point where we both go, I hear you. I hear you. You could maybe still vote for him or whatever, but at least you heard me. I think people want to be heard right now. They on both sides. People want to be heard about, well, yeah, Black Lives Matter, but what about children? They want to be heard because they genuinely care about children, but they don't understand. I'm upset that you couldn't also understand that Black Lives Matter and why those things are important and why could you never speak up for that? We can both talk about these things and finally come to some conclusion, but we're not ready to have meaningful conversation. We're ready to spout off our ideas, and it takes true empathetic listening, like real empathetic listening. And in conversations like this, you and I can kind of flow back and forth, but should I not know you, I should really take time with each going back and forth to hear what you're saying, to think about it for maybe just one more second longer. All right.
Yeah.
And then go, okay, boom.
And it's I look at America as we're like this climber picking our way up this like ice wall, right? And so I actually love both people on the right and the left. I love how the right is like these gritty fucking assholes were like, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna get it fucking done. I'm gonna get it fucking done. And I love the empathy on the left. And the left also has that same vigor, that whole like, oh, you think you're gonna get in my way? Well then fuck off. Because they're both Americans. And I think that America needs both the right and the left, because if you're picking your way up a sheet of ice, you kind of need to pull to the right, pull to the left, pull to the right.
Just like anything, there's a happy medium to everything. There's a 50-50 to everything in terms of there needs to be some, should policies become so progressive to where it really truly is detrimental, and it's proven and it's known and it's been enacted. And we know these things, not from other countries. When it's done here and it's worked in proper structure, just like we have, and it doesn't work out, rail against that system, because I wouldn't want to live in a communist country either. I don't want to live in Russia under a dictator for 20 years going on to 2032. Like, those aren't the things I want. I'm as American as they come. I come from a black father and a white mother that fell in love and that have lived the American dream and are currently doing it. Like, I want them to live through the coronavirus and not have to worry about their health and people moving. And I want to have, like, you know, my grandkids grow up with a community where there is, everybody looks like a mix of everybody. That's what I want. That there's nothing more American than that. I want everybody to live this dream, but it simply can't come at the cost of me saying things from a place of hate. It has to be from a place of love, you know? So yeah, we agree on a lot of and that's the thing is, bro, like, I found a lot of people, like, I don't think you and I have anything that really truly we would disagree on.
Yeah, I don't think so
because
either.
if anything, I find myself to be a moderate these days, but just in this day and age, you haven't left me a choice. So I have
100%. That's why I'm here. I'm going like, bro,
Yeah.
I don't see. No, I mean, I have nobody on either side right now. I'm just sitting there going, this is kind of a weird situation.
And so, like, it just makes it easy for me to rail against Trump because he's always talking. You know, he gives me a lot to, you know.
Oh, he gives so much fuel to the
So
fire.
but you know, should Biden start coming up there and falling asleep on the job, you got to tell him what's up, bro.
Well,
You know,
that's the funny thing with, like,
accountable.
yo, the Biden's gonna get it. Like, when I think Biden gets elected personally, and the reason I think Biden gets elected is not for the reason that everybody else thinks. A lot of people think that there's not that many Trump voters out there, bro. There's
There
a
are a
lot of Trump
lot.
voters. The
There's a lot.
polls,
There's some secret ones there.
they have the polls. The biggest thing I would ask CNN is, have you changed who you call? Because Hillary Clinton was winning last time too, but the difference is this time relative to last time is all the kids who lived in LA, New York, San Francisco, they moved home. The electoral college for the first time in a while is actually going to work out in the favor of the Democrats because they're no longer pooled up in all of these larger metropolitan cities. The larger metropolitan areas are dormant. There's no one here anymore. And so, I've had probably 25 plus friends dip home to wherever they're going, Massachusetts or Minnesota or Dallas or Colorado. And those kids are all sitting at home at the dinner table with their mom and dad and their younger brother or sister. And they're influencing some of those votes. And then two, their vote's going to count in a state that it usually wouldn't count in. And that's going to be really interesting this year.
Man, I'm really curious to see how this younger generation, like the 18 to 25 demographic votes, in terms of just pure, it'd be interesting. I'm curious as to how they vote, but just how many vote. If I would love to see a landslide of more progressive thinking in that vote, because
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was leaning the other way. Like if every 60-year-old that needed Trump to win to make sure that they didn't have to sleep, or walk into a store and feel like they were, next to too many black people, like those people will come out too. And people don't think they are there. And there's been people that I didn't even know were supporters of his policies, and I was surprised. But it just goes to show you, and to me, bro, I don't know how to say it because it's really hard. I'm having a tough time with this election being like, if you support Trump, I want to remain friends. I really do. And I want that to be known. There's an internal struggle with me because it feels as if they aren't seeing who the man is behind the message. And that it makes it hard for me because I feel like then it judges character. And I know, if anything, they've been railing on Joe Biden being too nice during this RNC, which is wild to me. That's the thing. He was, and you got to have a backbone. I get that. But if your backbone is fangs and telling me that it's racism and bigoted thought patterns that are going to get us through this whole tough time, you're not going to get my vote. You're not.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to have. There's a few different whys behind the Trump vote that I'm comfortable with. The why would be smaller government always. The why would be if you have a problem with the abortion stuff. But then again, for me as a God-fearing person, I think that we have the freedom on earth to do what we want. And I do understand if you have a problem with the government funding that particular thing. But as far as the freedom of it, I go, God gave us choice. And it's not for me to damn anyone, and it's not my role, and it's also I have no power in that. So, and I have no ability to even understand if that is that big as a thing that could happen. So I'm like, that's one of those issues. And then I go, maybe if you really like his foreign policy, I could see those particular things, but. Other than that, I don't understand the why of Trump. And for me right now, the reason I won't vote for him is I'm trying to look 30 years in the future. And I go, I'm trying to Bernie Sanders this thing. I learned a lot from Bernie Sanders. Stick with who you are and just always be you. And don't let the world around you change your expectations of it. And although I don't agree with a lot of what Bernie Sanders
I was going to say he sticks to his principles.
He just sticks to his principles. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to Bernie Sanders this thing. And I'm just going to sit here for 30 years from now and go, I didn't vote for Trump and I didn't vote for that guy. And I didn't vote for that guy because I always wanted this. And I'm going to sprinkle in my vote absolutely down ballot. I'm still going out on voting day and vote where I need to vote. Cause I actually think that's more impactful anyways. But it's a weird time for a Trump voter, I think. And for I guess with the friends that I have that are voting for Trump, it really matters to me the why. And there's a few that I understand, but then some of it when you're just like the fear why, I don't understand the fear.
I do, because they see what the media shows them. They see what these places look like, and some of them are bad, man. But they don't ever ask the questions as to why. What are the causes? What's going on there? It's just like a 15-second clip from Instagram or something. You have to always ask the behind if you really want the answer. And we just are cool with taking clips and like letting that implicit bias, it agrees with our brain, so we're going to believe that. And I think that people seek information. Like I tell you, I continue to say this, I watch Fox and OAN more than I do CNN, just because I know I'm going to agree with the talking points on MSNBC or something like that. And I like to see what the other side is saying, and some of it makes me raise questions as to, wait, well, where did that money go that they were talking about then on that or that? It's fair stuff.
If it to help you understand maybe more of a conservative thought process, Fox even for me is cringy. I'm a big like Ben Shapiro guy. I do.
Ben's a pick and choose with me, because Ben, I swear, there's days I want to slap him.
Sure.
But no, I hear what like conservatism and like the way he thinks. Like he's a very like, this is the great thing about Ben that works with me, but it doesn't, because he's very, it's cut and dry. It is, there's facts and there's figures. There's facts.
He's like, dude, he's like borderline autistic.
Yeah.
You know, he's like just on the spectrum enough that he's just dialed in. He's like it's basically a human being on like 110 milligrams of Adderall.
That,
like,
bro, he's knowledgeable, and he's good. He's articulate, and he's well spoken. But I just don't like how he negates history. I don't like a lot of people when I always have the hardest time when people negate history. If you negate history, you're going to lose me, because there's so much built into history that leads us to where we are today that people continue to not go. They're like, well, yeah, all that happened. Like, you can't say, well, yeah, slavery, yeah, of course. No, it's like, well, yeah, billions and billions of dollars were made for free labor. Like, you have to say that then. Well, yeah, trillions of dollars went on tax with free labor, of course. If you said that, I'd be like, well, duh. And then you'd probably go, oh, okay. Like, that's where I'm like, I can, you know, there's happy mediums, but like I do think that, you know, hoy man, I will do I've been doing my very best to try to keep an open mind, and there are people that literally think the absolute opposite of me that I've tried to keep in contact with. But the fringe people that you see on Facebook or Instagram, where I'm like, do I even know this person? Like, why am I following? Like, I've gotten rid of them, but those people that I know have good hearts that have shown me love, that I know that like I said, my heart sees love.
Yeah.
So even if you said you were, voting for Trump, but you've shown me nothing but love, it has a hard time thinking for me. I wouldn't say, oh, he's a racist, right? That's
sure.
not, I have to think past that. I have to go, well, what is his fear? Like, why is he not hearing my plight when he loves me so much, right? So I tend to go to that, but I mean, I've lost a few here and there.
Well, there are some Trump voters out there that are loony bin.
Wacko Pataco, bro. Like, I swear, bro. Like, there's some stuff I hear where I'm just like, I can't have a conversation with you, because we're not going to meet at a foundational level that's going to allow us to move forward. Like, because there's things like, if it's like like the Pizzagate stuff. Like I said, I believe there are pieces of that which I would go ahead and give the thumbs up on. I believe human trafficking, sex trafficking are real things. Now, from there, where you go with your thought process and how you're bringing this all back to Trump being the savior that's here to fix us from the deep state.
Yeah.
You have to go ahead and have some disagreements.
Well, I think it's interesting, because I think the left has certainly a really good amount of diversity of faces. But I think the right has a little bit more of diversity of voices. Mm-hmm. And because and I only say that because I think a lot of my friends on the left are like, they really all kind of like, they really, as far as principles on policy, it's like, yo, like, these are the policies we give a shit about. Like, these are the rock solid ones. And on the right, I see a little bit more loosey goosey, where I see a lot of conspiracy theorists. There absolutely are some racists out there. There's some people that just give a shit about taxes. Some people only care about abortion. Some people only care about gun rights. And it's it's a little bit more of like this sprinkled aroundness. And that's what is interesting about the right. And it's harder to like,
I mean, you
You
can't
can't
pinpoint.
speak for all of them.
You
Also,
can't speak. That's the hard part about this year. But that's why when they said they came to this new, I mean, the RNC with no policy, it made me go, or no new policy. At least I'm like, that shows me you have no direction forward. You stewed in the hate for so long that you forgot that you had to now have something to focus on for the next 4 years.
yeah,
And once again, I'm just, for me personally, I'm just speaking for me personally. When it comes to your vote, you have to ask what that candidate has done for you, and I don't think he has given me anything, because it would be, like I said, for me, more leaning along the social policies that I need to have enacted, because I know for me, I haven't seen any of the tax cuts that ain't nothing happened to me, nothing changed for me.
hmm
So, and this is a guy I'm not living like a rock star. So, that's where I got to go. Like, hey, you ain't done for nothing for me. And I think if a lot of people in middle America and stuff that don't own businesses that are still struggling by that, if you asked yourself as far as like economically, what has he done for me? It ain't. And it's the thing is, what has he done for me? Not meaning he needs to give me anything, but they haven't increased wages. They haven't given me more job opportunities.
yeah,
And I don't care if black unemployment was at an all-time low. When you're making minimum wage, it doesn't matter. What was the average wage of the worker that's been employed? If you're telling me it's ten
good
dollars and
point.
25 cents an hour, it doesn't matter. So that's why you have to ask the deep questions. Well,
Good point.
it's at an all-time lowest employment, but what were the wages? Because you're just going to have people that are working now in poverty wondering, well, I'm working and I'm not seeing the benefit of it because you're getting paid a shit wage. It's a losing game that you were never supposed to win.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
good point.
so there's
And I don't
just,
know the answer to that particular one,
neither
but
do I,
that's a
bro.
good question.
Neither do I. And that's the thing is like, I got to look into these numbers, and that's just being real, but nobody wants to see that. They just want the talking point. So then they can go to Facebook and go, well, black unemployment's at an all-time low. And I have to say, okay, well, what are the numbers behind that though? Like, and that's for me to ask too, but I'm just saying these are talking points, and it's for the right too. Well, he's done this. Well, what exactly? Like, you have to go research what Trump has done to civil rights. You have to look at those things, and the list is extensive.
Like
And it's
historically or through
historically since he's been elected, not just
since
that,
he's
but
been elected. Okay.
like, so that makes it easy. So I go back to my base and I say, well, this is this. It's easy to go for me to turn on MSNBC and be like, oh well, he's okay. That, like, I see this good talking point here. Get ready to rile that up. You better dig deeper, because you're going to leave yourself looking like a fool if they have actual facts and statistics to
Sure.
prove otherwise.
Yeah, it's just such an important time for us to stay open and educate ourselves and
Please do.
learn what we really want, because these conversations aren't ending. This
No,
is just
look. I mean, as it shows, what we've been talking for an hour and some change, and it really doesn't, like,
we haven't learned anything yet.
Like, there's so much to unpack. So there's so much to discuss, and it's going to take conversations with people. But it can be a draining conversation. I think for people like me and you, it's fascinating because we don't tie ourselves to any ideology more than just principle of what those things are. So it makes it a little bit easier, because my rock and my foundation isn't built upon that. It's built upon the principles of what I know. So, it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here, but I hope, like you, that it is forward. I think that our positive nature lets me know that no matter what happens in the next 2 months, that I will continue to work with Engage the Vision and pour my heart and soul into this city, because I love it, and I love it for its diversity and what it represents. And I think that this is America, and I want to make sure that all Americans are taken care of,
Yeah.
even whether here illegally or illegally. If people, that's their own thing. But if you're contributing to this country, if you're working in fields for pennies on the dollar, whatever it is, I want you to be taken care of. I just believe in the American dream, that it's possible. And so, yeah, man.
I love it. I love it so much. And if anybody's out there who does want to, start giving back and has been inspired by this conversation, check out Engage the Vision. We support after-school programs around the city. Right now, it's obviously a little bit different during COVID, and so we're still remaining flexible of different places that we're providing give back. I think CJ is even a little bit more well aware of what's that next step for us.
Yeah. So just know, if for anybody that's paying attention at the moment, we got something called Movement for Justice going down. It's going to be on November 14th. It's going to be a run walk, and we're going to have a website up soon to where you can donate and pledge to that. But all the net proceeds go directly to both the Engage the Vision and Rodney King Foundation. So these are two organizations where you wouldn't worry about where the funds going. It goes directly into those things, and no other people are above us or below us. We have our and we're going to give to directly to the people that need it. So I'm excited for that. We're just ironing out a few little details before we go live with everything, but just be on the lookout for that.
Cool. Well, CJ, what else you want to leave us with? Anything else before we sign out here today?
Yo, check out the music, CJ Hammond on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon Music, whatever you're using. That's really my main push. Obviously, acting is kind of on, not, I wouldn't say on the shelf, just not something that I still love it always. But music has definitely got my heart, and I have things that I'm passionate about. Like I said, it's activism and this music. So continue to just, if you love that, and check out my page.
Definitely check it out. I think the music spot's a good place for you because you have a lot of upside in that genre. But this was Purple Politics today. Thank you so much for coming out. God bless you all. Godspeed, and I hope to see you soon.